As all hell was breaking out across America in the late 60s and 70s, brought on by the fight for civil rights, the war in Vietnam, along with riots and rebellion in major black cities, a new soul music began to emerge that was fueled by a hippie counterculture of drugs, psychedelic music, psychedelic art, and social permissiveness. Black funk music, led by James Brown, Sly Stone, and Jimi Hendrix, was now going psychedelic, stretching all the way to the Milky Way. This new funk sound picked up where James Brown left off. In the hood, it was known as a Parliament Funkadelic mint thing, or short for Parliament Funkadelic, or even shorter, P Funk. Parliament Funkadelic was conceived and nurtured by a young brother from Newark, New Jersey by the name of George Clinton, also known as Dr. Funkenstein, the extraterrestrial brother. The rapid rise of the P-Funk movement in popularity and to the top of the charts mystified much of the mainstream press. When it comes to creating rhythm, which is the foundation and driving force of black music, there was no one better than George Clinton. He was the creator of two of the most influential groups in black music, Parliament and Funkadelic. George's mother gave birth to him in one of the nastiest places on earth, an old broken-down outhouse in the country of North Carolina. He was born literally in the funk. As a young man hanging around the barber shop in Plainsville, New Jersey, George learned the art of frying black hair or giving processes to the local pimps, hustlers, and musicians that hung around the shop. It was in the barber shop that George and some of his young friends started a doo-wop group called the Parliament, trying to follow in the footsteps of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. After singing all around the East Coast, Parliament was discovered and signed to a record deal by Motown Records. Soon the group moved to Detroit in search of fame and fortune. Parliament had one minor hit with a song called Testify, which sounded like Drunk Temptation singing. This group was loud, different, and undisciplined. They were different than all the other polished acts on Motown. It was soon decided that they had to go and were kicked off the label. Searching for a new home, they found one at Relevant Records, a small independent label in Detroit, but they soon ran into some legal issues trying to use the Parliament name, so George, tripping off some acid, created another group. He named that group Funkadelic. It was a black rock band with a crazy soul, blues, and free jazz influence image. George was the rawest of the raw. Funkadelic was created during the Vietnam War, black civil unrest, hippies, and the great drug experimentation with weed and acid. The group's visual and music concept was based on being free with crazy lyrics about drugs, open rebellion, and good old country sex. Soon George combined his two groups, which became known as Parliament Funkadelic. He created an ongoing musical narrative that involved outlandish heroes and villains, an entire mythology of black speculative fiction. In the photography and album artwork produced by artist Pedro Bell, and in the props and costumes created for the elaborate concert productions, Clinton constructed a dazzling visual experience around images of black spacemen, interplanetary travel, scientific laboratories, and genetic experiments. Some of the albums had names like Let's Take It to the Stage, Hardcore Jollies, Tales of Kid Funkadelic, and One Nation Under a Groove. P-Funk under the brand, the P-Funk All-Stars, created hit after hit after hit. Songs that hit you in the chest and put bass in the one right in your face. Clinton was the group's ringmaster, commanding all of the onstage movements, decked out in flashy wigs, hot pants, and silver-toned knee-high boots. Members of the band dressed themselves in all kind of mind-blowing outfits, performing in boldly colored space suits and, in some cases, diapers and wedding dresses. They created characters like Kid Funkadelic, Sir Nose, Star Child, Poo Poo Man, and the Atomic Dog. At a P-Funk show, you saw people of all ages, along with pimps, hoes, hippies, and grandparents, become funketeers, getting down just for the funk of it. The cast of characters in P-Funk consisted of some of the greatest black musicians in the world. Musicians like Bootsy Collins, who had defected from James Brown's band. Junie Morrison, who joined the group from the Ohio Players. The group also consisted of classically trained Bernie Worrell on keyboards and James Brown's horn section of Fred Wesley and Maceo Parker. What you had with the George Clinton All-Stars was a movement, a visual movement, and a combined modern black space age mythology. P-Funk created some of the greatest funk songs in history. Hits like Make My Funk the P-Funk, Chocolate City, The Mothership Connection, Tear the Roof Off the Sucker, Flashlight, Atomic Dog, and One Nation Under a Groove. As the group began making more records and more hits, George realized he needed to think about more than making the next hit record. He needed to think about legacy. He was obsessed with creating a live concert experience or a movement and culture that would keep the funk alive but would never die. It would only multiply. So they began working on their live concerts. They wanted it to represent a certain energy and approach to their particular brand of funk music. Dr. Funkenstein decided that he wanted to open up each show with an intergalactic pimp arriving on the stage from outer space in a spaceship called the Mothership. Going to a P Funk show was like going to a huge party where you were an active participant in a crazy, out-of-this-world experience. The funk troupe had achieved larger-than-life status for their unique form of outlandish spectacles. So if you've never experienced a live P-Funk show, today is the day. I want to make your funk the P-Funk, give you the uncut funk coming directly from the Mothership. So for a few minutes, I want you to get your groove on and witness one of the greatest moments in funk music history as P-Funk's lead singer Glenn Goins calls down the Mothership.
I think I see the Mothership coming. No.